Hey, dude, how's it going?
It's going. It's going.
It's going. Did you see on BTE this week they did quarantine confessions? Thought it'd be fun if we, did our own quarantine confessions. Is there
Oh yeah, yeah.
anything you
Cool. Let's do that.
want to confess?
Well, sure. Yeah. You know, just like Tony, um, being under quarantine and whatnot, I've taken up playing some video games, and like Tony, I think it's taken over my life.
Oh,
I feel like it's all I do. The wife isn't liking me spending so much time on there. I'm probably averaging like 10 hours a week. It just feels like I'm always on it. And yeah, it needs to stop. I'm not getting anything done.
10? 10 hours a week?
Yeah.
Okay, cue the intro.
The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How's it going this week, buddy?
I'm actually good. I'm actually good. I'm not addicted to
Oh, that's good to hear.
10 hours. I'm not even getting 10 hours, actually.
There's
I'd be a
definitely
lot
room
better.
for more. There's room for
Yeah,
more.
I'd be a lot better at Call of Duty if I could. How are
Good.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. Keeping busy. Got the yard work done this week and whatnot. So yard's looking spiffy for the summer and
Nice.
whatnot. But we had a good week of all elite wrestling to go over this week. We had a good episode of Being the Elite. A couple good matches on AEW Dark. I have some breaking kayfabe news to go over, as well as a scoop of vanilla, as well as AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. So, what do you say we get right into it? But before that, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below on what you think of AEW this week, and we will be glad to share in some conversation with you guys. But let's get right into AEW, or the sorry, Being the Elite. I'm already all messed up. Uh, this was episode 202, titled An Old Carney Trick. When I saw this title, I was like, An Old Carney Trick? I don't know, the name of the episode seemed out there, and I don't know, I didn't know what to expect. But we start the episode off, and it's Brandon Cutler, and he's all psyched up, and he was happy that his segment last week was so popular, the Kickout Challenge, and he's taking it to the next level to, get his skill base up. So he's gonna work on near falls this week, and he's got the Young Bucks to help him out. I absolutely loved this segment. I was on the floor laughing. This was so good.
Yeah, I although I didn't get it. So maybe I missed something, but it seemed like this segment was about false finishes, right?
Yeah,
Broken Matt Hardy did his, this is what a false finish is.
yeah,
But I didn't see any false finishes in all of his practice.
exactly. Because it's
Okay,
Brandon Cutler.
is that the gimmick?
Is that the
Okay.
gimmick? He sucks.
I okay. I I guess I thought it was more sophisticated than that and I was missing it. So,
Yeah, no. The whole joke is that, yeah, he's gonna work on these false finishes, but he can't because he's going up the stars, the Young Bucks, and you don't
skit.
kick out of the Young Bucks.
Right.
So it's super funny. Should have stuck with the jobbers, and like last week, maybe he would have kicked out of a couple of
Yeah.
those. But it was so clever because they did kind of every kind of false finish. There was the finishing move. They did a Meltzer driver on him, couldn't kick out of it. Super kick party, couldn't get kick out of it. Golden trigger, couldn't kick out of it. They even did the old Ric Flair powder in the face, couldn't kick out of it. The surprise chair shot, couldn't kick out of it. Oh my god! Like I said, I was on the floor laughing. This was such a good segment. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then we move on to Young Bucks just having a little fun. We got introduced. I don't think I've ever seen Baby Buck before. The ref during the whole last skit is actually their youngest brother, Malachi, which I didn't notice that's what he said until the second time I watched the episode. I was like, holy shit, yeah, that's their little brother. So anyways, they're going to play a version of horse, substituting the letters for horse with BTE. And Matt goes on this, tangent about how he was a basketball star back in the day, and he used to kick his brother's ass at basketball all the time. And then they start playing, and Matt's out in three shots. Good game, guys. He's like, oh yeah. Nick's like, not now. The sportsmanship comes out. It's a goofy little skit. There was nothing wrong with it, but it's kind of funny. It's cool to see essentially a new character in Malachi Jackson, which I don't know if they call him Baby Buck, but I'm calling him Baby Buck. I think it fits.
Yeah, I've never heard Baby Buck, but I like it.
So hopefully,
they don't mention this in episode 200 where we saw him the first time.
Did we see him there? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, he was the ref.
He was the ref, and yeah. Then they definitely didn't, because it didn't trigger, it didn't click anything for me. So
yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like them.
No, he doesn't
at all.
Hopefully we see some.
We need our viewers to verify: is this a blood relative or not?
An in-law, maybe.
Maybe
a sister's husband or something. Maybe.
Adopted. He doesn't look like them at all.
Well, he's just a bit chubbier.
It's not that, like, he's the younger brother, but he has no hair.
Well, Nick doesn't have much hair anymore either.
Yeah, I suppose so. Daddy Buck's going bald too.
Okay.
We just verified it.
Yeah, we just verified it. It's all good. And then we get into the aforementioned new segment of Being the Elite, Quarantine Confessions. We got Cody and Tony, and Tony's got some serious business he needs to talk about and confession. He's got a new addiction, and it's PlayStation. And he's playing Uncharted 4 and Red Dead Redemption. He can't say Red Dead Redemption. He gets a little heated when he is trying to spit that out. He's playing Madden, and it took him 5 hours to get past Bane in Arkham Asylum. And what did you think of this skit? I think it could have been pulled off a little bit better, but it's got potential.
Yeah, I like the idea of the segment. If Tony is really on the PlayStation, he didn't make it believable enough for me. Especially not being able to say Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. He could barely hold the controller when he picked it up.
Yeah, he seemed really nervous about it, and it seemed rehearsed.
Yeah, he was holding it, and he looked at it like he's never seen one before.
He's holding it backwards.
Yeah, it's upside down. There's no fucking buttons on this thing.
Yeah.
Flip it over there, Tony. One kind of critique or a suggestion that I could give for this, because I do think this segment has potential. I think it could be funny. But now that things are loosening up with the whole worldwide situation, people are starting to be able to go out and, at least be in the same areas as people. Social distancing is very much still a thing. What if they did, like, interventions? Where one of the characters, whoever it may be, kind of walks in the room and there's just a bunch of people there waiting for them. Like, hey, what's this? And it's just like, sit down. We're here to help you or whatever. And they do this little intervention thing because they have some quirky addiction for that week or whatever. Like Scorpio Sky is addicted to the candy bars again or something like that. Just it would all be lighthearted fun, of course, but I think that's where they could go.
Yeah, I really like that.
What were you gonna say?
Cody watches, so expect it to happen next week.
Yeah. I don't know. He hasn't been listening to me, pissing me off. Don't get me started.
It's because we're Canadian, right?
Yeah.
And he has a problem with Sean Spears,
Yeah.
who's a fellow Canadian.
Yeah, he doesn't trust us Canadians, even though historically Canadians are better wrestlers.
Just saying.
I mean, you could literally name the top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time, and they would all be Canadian. And it would be a legit list.
Yeah.
Anyways, getting off track here. Next segment, we run into Luchasaurus is on his capades once again. And he's walking down a back lane, and he runs into Panda. And they have a little exchange, and Panda gets a little heated on Luchasaurus. Apparently, Luchasaurus injured Panda while they were tag teaming. I didn't quite catch the story. I don't know the backstory to that, but apparently he pulled a tricep on a hot tag, and he pulled his quad on the next tag or something like that. I don't know. It didn't make much sense to me. Maybe if for the people who followed Lucha Underground, maybe they know the story behind that joke, but it didn't really fall on me there. But the segment goes way too long, and eventually Panda's like, "Yeah, I'll help you find your tail," and you're just kind of like, "What? You're just bitching this guy out 5 seconds ago. What's going on?" So I didn't really get this segment, and as much as last week we said, kind of over this Luchasaurus business, like I'm even more so like I wanted to skip ahead.
Oh, really? Okay. It's got me a little bit more intrigued now. I thought this Panda guy was a good talker, besides all of the unnecessary cursing, and I think they kept bleeping out the word God every time he said it, but it's made it a little bit interesting as to where it could go, at the very least. I think he's a good character, this Panda guy, so
Well, I'll give it a
it
chance.
might make it better.
Yeah. We'll see how
I mean, we
it
don't
goes.
have a choice, right? We're not going to boycott PT.
Yeah, for sure. Not over Panda.
Yeah.
Not over Panda and Luchasaurus.
But I like the. What do you think? We're always hanging out at Panda Express.
Yeah, that was good. It made me chuckle.
Well, you are here.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Oh, so this was the first place you looked? Yeah. That made me chuckle. And then from one bad segment into another bad segment, an even worse segment. Taz, the suplex god, as it said under his camera there, he gets a reading done by Benino Bodega, the worst character in BTE history. The phone pulled out on this one. I didn't even pay attention. Did you catch what they were talking about? What the future fortune was in Taz's future? Did you catch it?
Trying to remember now. Taz was complaining about people that he works with, and it was all about his announcer buddy there, the mask. I lost
Excalibur.
it. Yeah, Excalibur. Owes money or something like that.
Oh,
and,
yeah, he owes him 20
just a
bucks or
jerk.
something.
Yeah. And then I guess the future was he ended up calling him at the very end.
Oh, okay.
And then Taz kind of starts swearing at him. Yeah, you know what? I think if we started with these types of bits from this character, we probably wouldn't feel as bad, but those initial ones that they did, and it sucks so hard, like there's just no coming back for him. You know what I mean? Like as soon as he pops up there, it's just you're tuning out.
Yeah. This is
I don't
exactly
think
what
this
did.
segment was the worst one he did.
Okay.
Like there was some kind of funnier moments in there. Like Taz actually started laughing at one point. He couldn't keep it straight anymore.
Okay.
So
I'm not going back to watch it again. I'm sorry, but
I didn't think so.
if you say it's good, okay.
No.
The
I'm
viewers
not
can.
saying it's good. I'm just saying not as bad as it was from the beginning.
All right. Okay, good to know. As we move along the episode, we go back to the basketball court, and we're gonna finish up this game of BTE. It's just down to Nick and Malachi, and I mean they were just playing horse. Basically, they were shooting some goofy shots, and they were doing some camera trickery, if you will. And Nick misses the dunk, and Malachi scores the win on a layup, and when Nick slipped and misses the layup. But the kind of the conclusion, the exclamation point at the end of the segment is the basketball gets replaced by Colt Cabana's head, and Colt Cabana gets into the episode, continuing that joke, which I was happy to see that. It was funny.
Did you think the whole basketball hitting Matt's iced coffee was an accident or on purpose?
I think it was on purpose.
Okay.
I mean, happy accident, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it hits it and they're like, wait, we can use this. And then, yeah. Because the camera cuts are a little weird there. Like, the editing. So, yeah, maybe that the ball goes errant and, it hits the cup. And then they're like, hey, wait. Get mad. And then they get the camera in Matt's face. He's like, oh, come on, man, you jerk.
That's fun.
And then we get back into the private party ongoing saga. I discovered, or I caught something in this episode that I hadn't really caught in the previous segments we've seen private party, but their buddy that they beat up on in the previous segments, his name's EJ. And that's his house. Well, he says it in the segment. Guys, this is my house, and you're in my backyard. And they keep brushing him off. But his name is EJ. They said.
Well, I think we knew that though.
I didn't know that
from the first time.
I didn't know that. Never caught it. I'm like, who is this guy?
No, I think in the first time we saw it when we talked about it, I said I didn't know if it was CJ or EJ. And he does say, like, come on, guys, this is my house. Like, what are you doing in my yard kind of thing?
I did not pay attention to that.
Okay. So I'm still quite confused as to, like, what this is all about. I don't know if I'm supposed to know what things are, or is it going to be... We're going to find out at a later point.
This is kind of the question that popped into my head after watching this is... So they find this clue. It's just like some scribbles on it looked like a Tetris piece scribbled on a piece of paper. And, this is a clue. This might be, a clue to who jumped us that time. And
we thought it was a map.
Yeah, something. And then he says, Mark Quinn says, I'm going to take it to a lab. And then as he leaves the yard, there's the bear, the stuffed bear, trips him up. He hits his head on the rock. And then it goes back to Cassidy, and he's, where is this guy? It's getting late, and I guess I'll just sit back and relax. And he starts drinking the vodka, and I'm assuming, I want to say that's EJ, a character that EJ plays in the wrestling world, kind of this boogeyman style. I couldn't really tell because it goes black and white, so I couldn't really tell if it was still him or not.
Yeah,
with the mask and the face done up and stuff like that. But obviously he's spiked the vodka or something because Cassidy's having these hallucinatory dreams and stuff. And then when he kind of snaps out of it, it's like he has a flashback and he's doing wrestling moves to this teddy bear. The teddy bear's doing wrestling moves on him, which looks like a hotel room. And it makes me, like, it looks old. It looks like old footage. Is this something that Private Party had done themselves previously before All Elite Wrestling, and they're trying to bring kind of some kind of bit into being the Elite? Or is this all brand new stuff? That's my question. Am I supposed to know? Is this teddy bear a thing already?
Yeah.
That's my question.
I thought the same thing. They did look young in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe this is how they got discovered or something like that. Um, I don't know. Anyways, that Canadian destroyer that the teddy bear gives him, that
Deadly.
was awesome.
Spiked him right on that mattress. Holy smokes. That's the best looking Canadian destroyer we've seen since Pentagon gives it on Nick Jackson through the ladder at All Out there.
If there
But
was only phones when you were younger, we'd have a lot of footage
yeah,
to get ourselves to be professional wrestlers.
yeah, he used to throw me around quite a bit on Mom's bed, eh?
Yeah.
And then as the episode closes out, we get staying at home with Hangman. I don't know if this is something new they're trying. He basically cooking with Hangman is like he was running a cooking show. This one didn't. I didn't like this. It just seemed weird and out of place. But what did you think of Hangman's sourdough segment?
Yeah, I mean it wasn't as hilarious as he's done stuff in the past. It was just way too fake. Like he's mixing things in a bowl, there's nothing there. He's pouring it out, there's nothing there. Like he didn't put enough effort into like
Right.
trying to make it somewhat legit. Like I like the end just being an actual loaf of bread just put in the thing. Like that was good stuff.
Sliced bread.
Yeah. I was more interested as to this female voice that we're hearing.
That must
Who's
be,
this? I want to see who this is.
Yeah, that must be his wife or something. But yeah, let's get. I wanna.
And why is he not drunk? I don't. Yeah, I was so confused.
Well, that's just it. The bit could have been way funnier if he's just sauced out of his mind. And then flowers being dumped all over the place. Like there could have been a physical comedy aspect to it. It would have tied in with his character. Why can't we talk while sourdough is rising? Is that a rule? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just it didn't fall on. I don't know. It just didn't touch me right. I didn't like it. But yeah, I mean, it was a fine episode. A couple of low points, a couple good points. Yeah, BTE. We'll talk about some more next week. Let's get into AEW Dark. This is episode 32 from Tuesday, May 5th. What matches did we have this week?
We had 3 matches this week. We had Ryan Piles versus, what do they call him? Mr. 10 or?
Just the number 10. Yeah.
Just number 10. Okay. So this is the first time that we're seeing him, and he came out with Brody Lee. We had Sean Dean versus Sammy Guevara. And in the main event, we had Kip Sabian versus Colt Cabana. And this is kind of a payoff match from a while back.
Yeah, a while back.
When they had that little scuffle on, I think it was Dynamite or something.
Yeah, it was.
So what'd you think of these matches?
10 really impressed me. We've seen 10 before, formerly known as, I can't remember his name now. What was his name?
I don't know. It's probably 2 first names.
Yeah.
Like Ryan George or something.
No. I forget. Anyways, we've seen him before. Preston Vance. Right?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
So we've seen him before, and he impressed me in his dark match. I think he might have even wrestled Cody or something. So this kid's got a lot of potential. Now he's got the mask on, and I really liked how they did this match. It was essentially a squash match. Finally the creepers are getting, one up on everybody else. But the thing that I enjoyed about this match is how anytime 10 did a move, he looked to Brody Lee for approval. And the one time he looked away, Ryan Piles got a shot in. It was just like a weak chop or something like that. And then Brody was pissed, and he grabs his chair that he was holding. He hits it against the post, and now 10's worried. He's scared, and He goes into the finisher. He's got this huge spine buster as a finisher. Yeah, I really enjoyed this quick little match, and I'm excited to see where they go with this 10.
Yeah, yeah. He is a ripped guy, but he's not very big. Like next to Brody,
Well,
like he's pretty small looking.
yeah, what is he like? 6'1", 6'2", maybe.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Brody's like 6'10" or whatever it is.
yeah. It's crazy. Um, yeah, I like this angle where they're going at, and Cody and Tony did a really good job of playing that up. Like they
Right.
talked a lot about it.
I mean, we mentioned it. I think we've mentioned it before. How we were kind of waiting for someone with some kind of credibility to join the Dark Order. Where they actually get some momentum, and with Evil Uno and Stu Grayson kind of being out of commission right now, we haven't seen them in like 3 months now. It's good to see that this number 10 is going to be a force to be reckoned with, if you will.
Mhm.
He's not just like who did we see a couple weeks before, 9 and 8, and they just get decimated by the best friends. So
That's what's weird about it is all the other guys are these lanky little guys, and then
yeah,
10 is just jacked like crazy.
well, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see where they go with this. I'm getting excited again for the Dark Order because their they kind of lost their luster. I hate it. I hate to say when Brody Lee come in, but that's kind of the last high point that they had.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of
That was the beginning
kind
of
of
the
the world's.
quarantine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, they
hopefully,
should be the like one of the biggest things in AEW. I think if I was in charge, like I would make them front and center.
yeah, they need to be that opposing faction to the elite or to the inner circle. You know what I mean? They just don't have anybody to go against right now, and I think they're suffering from that. But they'll get it figured out once everything gets back to normal.
Yeah.
Sean Dean, the captain, versus Sammy Guevara. This match was it was kind of weird because Sammy kind of walked all over this guy, but this guy's twice his size. Like I don't think they booked this match properly. Like it made Sean Dean look really bad. Where it could have been a more evenly contested match that Sammy squeaks out. But Sammy kind of walked all over him, it seemed.
Yeah, especially with all the, him doing squats with him on his shoulders and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I think it was Cody that tried to say, something to the effect that, Sammy, although being a smaller guy, he fights like a bigger guy. But did he save it with that?
I mean,
Maybe not.
little guys can fight like they're bigger, but it doesn't always have to work out that way. You know, when you look
Yeah.
at like Rey Mysterio used to have matches with like the Big Show all the time, and Rey Mysterio fights a bigger style than he is, or he can anyways. But there was still always that one slap that would just completely floor him, which we never really saw with Sean Dean. Like I don't know, I just think the match could have been more competitive. It made Sean Dean look really bad, I felt.
Yeah.
And he's a good wrestler. Like I really like Sean Dean. I think he's got a future. But that's my harsh criticism for that.
I think one of the problems with these dark matches for the last couple months is we know that the guy who's on the roster is going over. Like they
Well,
haven't really even gave a little sprinkle of one of these amateur guys are gonna be close to winning.
right.
I don't know.
But you can I mean this is pro wrestling 101. We've known for 30 years that wrestling is predetermined. And very much so you can see by the way we predict a lot of these shows that, you know, it is predictable in a sense, but you can make it, you can still do it in a way, you can execute it in such a way that makes you think differently. Like,
Yeah.
in no point of this match did I think Sean Dean was gonna get this at all. Which you should have that moment at least once on a guy that's bigger than Sammy Guevara. Like, I don't know. Just because it's a
Yeah.
dark match doesn't mean you can just throw wrestling logic out the window. I am really starting to sound like Jason Corvette.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to see some identification. I think.
Oh
I don't
God.
want to do this podcast with Mr. Corvette.
Okay. I'll try to be more lax.
All right.
All right, moving into the main event of AEW Dark, we had Superbad Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford against Colt Cabana, and like you mentioned in the intro, a payoff from something that we saw a couple months ago. We're finally getting this resolved or whatever. That altercation we're talking about was during, I think it was a Fatal 4-Way women's match that Penelope Ford was in. Kip was out there supporting her, and after the match, Tony was doing an interview with Colt, and Kip gets involved, and Colt just paintbrushes him, and that was kind of it. And we, you know, now we're just getting that payoff for that. What did you think?
Now
of this
they
match?
made it sound like Colt had been saying something about Penelope Ford at the time of that altercation, but I don't remember him saying anything about her. Do you remember that?
I want to say he makes some kind of comment of her, like with the gymnastics stuff, maybe getting a little too cocky, a little too confident, and it was kind of her downfall in that match. I think that's when Kip kind of gets in and, oh yeah, is that what you think, and or something like that. I think it was a comment like that. I don't remember 100% for sure what he said, but I think it was something along those lines. What did you think of this match?
I enjoyed the match. I've said for a long time now, you know, Kip Sabian's going to be one of the future guys for this company. He's going to, you know, have a lot of great matches in the future. And Cole Cabana is just, I think they even said on the show that he has like 6,000 matches under his belt. So he's a professional. And although he does some of the kind of gimmicky, clowny type stuff, I'm for it. I like his energy in the ring, so I enjoyed this match and played out exactly the way that we thought it would be. Like, it was pretty predictable that Penelope Ford was going to have something to do with this one. They're kind of teasing it as though Cabana has the hots for her. Did you get a sense of that in this match?
Well, yeah, I guess a little bit. Like, when she comes into the ring, he's on the second rope there, and he like jumps down, and he's like, you know, you can't be in the ring, and he's trying to like shoo her out. And it's not like, get out of here, you don't belong in here or anything. It wasn't that kind of attitude that you would normally see. So yeah, maybe they are trying to portray some kind of feelings, I guess, for Penelope. If anybody has feelings for Penelope Ford, it's the camera guy. Holy smokes, was he zooming
Or the
in?
guy in the truck? Yeah.
Or the guy in the truck is like I don't know. I watched that match 3 times. Is all I'm saying.
Hey, if you like Animal Crossing, you can watch her on Twitch.
Is that what she's playing?
That's what and The Sims.
That's funny. But yeah, that camera guy was all up in those, I don't know, gajungas, whatever you want to call them.
You can say puppies. Yeah, it's okay.
Puppies. Yeah, puppies. That's a good one. Anyways, good episode from Dark. We had 3 solid matches. Again, Sean Dean, Sammy Guevara could have been executed a little bit better, but it is what it is. Let's keep the show rolling on with a Breaking Kayfabe segment. A little bit newsworthy. Newsworthy item is the Revival finally getting their release. We touched on it a couple weeks ago. We mentioned last week during the BTE segment where we saw FTR up in the sky. I mean, we saw it pop up in our on our podcast. You know, what does FTR mean? I wasn't 100% sure what the new tag team name was, and I was like, hopefully they stick with the R, or else this whole thing doesn't make sense. And I found like this came out like really early in the week. I think it was like the next day, like the Sunday morning. I texted you. I was like, oh, this is what the new name is. But officially, Fear the Revolt is what FTR is standing for at this moment. The Revolt is the name of the new tag team, and they have new names. It's Dax and Cash.
Okay.
So I think it's I want to say Dax Shepard, but that's the actor. I can't remember what Dax's last name is. Dax.
I had saw those two, and I was wondering if that was maybe their real names.
It might be, but that's what they're going by, and it's like Cash Wheeler and Dax. I want to say it's Wilder, but that almost sounds too similar to Wheeler.
Yeah.
And then I always mess them up like I messed up Private Party. I never knew who Dash and Scott were. I could never get who's who.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyways, it's Dax and Cash now. The Revolt. And FTR seems to stand for Fear the Revolt.
Okay.
So pretty cool news coming out of...
What do you think of this name?
It's better than the Revival.
Yeah.
I mean, the Revival kind of
It doesn't roll, though. It doesn't roll, the Revolt. No. I was just looking up what the dictionary meaning of revolt is, and it says to renounce allegiance or subjection. So does this have something to do with WWE?
That'd be pretty smart.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not the worst name. It's not the worst name I've heard. It takes some getting used to, I think, though.
Yeah. We still haven't heard 100% that they are signed with AEW. Nothing's come out from that. But I mean, again, if being the Elite is involving them in the show, we saw FTR up in the sky. And if you noticed during Quarantine Confessions, while the scene was cutting out, Cody took a sip of his coffee and he had hashtag FTR on the coffee cup again.
No, I missed that.
Did you? Oh, go back and check that out. It's so slight because the scene's already fading out. But yeah, he takes a sip of the coffee and he does it like he used to, where he'd like really show off the cup. And yeah, it said hashtag FTR on it. So
I like that they're bringing that back.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, new news: the Revolt is a thing.
So one more thing, when we did the episode where we talked about all of the people that were let go, you had mentioned something about that a lot of these contracts will have a no competition clause or something like that. So
right,
how long would these guys kind of have to be out, do you think?
It usually depends on how big of a name they were. You know, a lot of guys, like I think Ellsworth, remember James Ellsworth, when he got released, he had like a 30-day no-compete clause. But, you know, someone with a little bit more name value, like an EC3 or something like that, probably has a 90-day. I've never heard of anything longer than 90 days, though.
Yeah. How have we not talked about EC3 yet? Did you see those videos he's been putting out?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few of them. It's kind of renouncing this 1%er type character.
Yeah.
The one video I saw, he
like
kind of takes a shot at MJF. in that one, eh?
He kind of does, yeah. Do you think that this is just to keep him relevant, to keep people talking about him, and maybe use it as a resume to get somewhere else, or do you think that he already has a, been in talks with somebody and this is leading up to something?
I would be really surprised if he didn't already have something lined up. If it's back to Impact, Ring of Honor, perhaps AEW. AEW's been um, really precise in when they're asked about all these releases. They're not giving hints to anything. As far as AEW's concerned, they're not in the market for anybody who's been coming out of, like, they've been really smart about keeping their lips sealed on that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, I'd be really surprised if EC3 doesn't have something lined up. And these kind of tweets, these self-shot vignettes, if you will, to me is a good move on his part to, yeah, like you say, stay relevant. I feel like if he had the backing of a company that he was maybe working with, they would be better produced. Like, this is totally him and his buddy with a cell phone. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
it could have been done better, but I mean,
It's interesting that he brings up MGF though.
yeah, and that's. I think I mentioned that while we were talking about the releases, how MJF is kind of like that character. And yeah, he totally calls it out. He's like, you think you're part of the 1%. I can't remember the exact words he uses, but yeah, he totally calls out MJF. So is that a sign that he's going to AEW? Or, MJF still, I believe, wrestles with MLW. I mean, it's technically just an independent territory, but maybe EC3 is going to be working with MLW, and that's something that they're going to work with is EC3 versus MJF. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. Yeah.
Perhaps the options are endless for this guy. We've said it before how EC3 should be the next The Rock. Like, he should be
Yeah.
that level of talent. He's got the body, he can work, and he's got a mouth on him. That's everything you need to be a star. But for whatever reason, WWE never saw that.
Yeah.
Triple H saw that. He was in NXT and he was one of the top guys, but he got plucked so quickly from NXT that he never really had that run as a top guy, like, say, an Adam Cole is getting.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is what we do. Because Cody watches the show, we do reverse psychology. Since he doesn't listen to us, Cody, don't sign EC3. Don't do it.
Yeah.
He's garbage. Don't sign him.
Don't. Please sign him. Yeah, good conversation though. EC3 is the man, and he's doing his job to keep himself relevant. So it's good stuff.
He'll get signed somewhere for sure. He has to.
He has
be.
So moving into a scoop of vanilla. This is a new segment that has been running on SmackDown. I mean, we're not watching WWE, so I don't know how much of this you know, but it's something that's been popping up in my Twitter feeds and stuff like that. It's getting more traction. Is this SmackDown hacker? So, I mean, we've seen this before. We had the anonymous Raw GM who would just interrupt the show and book these matches, like, kind of out of nowhere. All these impromptu matches. We had GTV back in the day, where there was always a camera in the locker room catching shenanigans and funny business and embarrassing people. Like, we've seen this style of gimmick before. So this time they're kind of trying to stay, I'd like to say they're trying to stay with the times, but I mean, hackers is kind of an old an old prototype, right? Like that's kind of a 90s thing. Do
Yeah.
people still hack? To me, hackers all have IT jobs now.
Or they're terrorists. Yeah.
Or they're terrorists, yes. So essentially, there's this hooded figure, and he's got all these monitors going. Some of them look like the freaking Matrix, and he's got this distorted voice and whatnot, and he's basically, I don't know, predicting or putting himself out there that he's gonna change the world of WWE and all this kind of nonsense. Again, I haven't watched, so I don't know exactly what's being said, but that's kind of the gist I'm getting. So the rumors coming down were originally people descrambled the voice using sound engineer software or whatever, and they kind of determined that the voice behind the early segments were either Mustafa Ali or Chad Gable, now known as Shorty G. Which, when I first heard that, I'm like, why would they give this kind of gimmick to those guys? It seems odd. Whatever. Some new information has come out that I guess on one of the graphics as the segment was fading out said "I will be heard" or something to that effect, which got some people thinking. And then kind of I'm not going to say the nail in the coffin, because to me it's a troll, but the new thing that came out this week. So this comes from at WWE on Fox, and it said, it's got a picture of the hacker, hooded figure, all the screens, and then upside down and backwards, the caption reads, "Do I have your attention now?" And I don't know how familiar you are with that phrase, but that is something like one of the key phrases CM Punk used in the build-up to that match with John Cena at Money in the Bank when he finally became the WWE champion. There was the pipe bomb, the sitting up on the ramp, he gets suspended, and when he comes back, because John Cena says he'll quit, he'll drop the title, he's out of the WWE if Vince doesn't reinstate CM Punk and he gets his match. So CM Punk comes back, gets the microphone, he crosses his legs and sits down in the thing, and everybody's going nuts. Whole crowd's going nuts. The first words out of his mouth are, "Do I have your attention now?" So that's kind of where they're trying to lead this hacker business. I think it's a troll. What do you think?
I mean, that's probably making for some great TV, for sure. I don't know, like CM Punk said, he was kind of done with it. I would be shocked if he came back, because I think it almost goes against his character and the stand he made against WWE to just come back. I don't know.
I agree with you. For him to come back in this way with this gimmick, yeah, it's too much of a 180 from his actual personality, his actual character as a person. Never mind his wrestling character. It's just a bad choice for him. And he said that there's a small handful of guys that he would actually consider lacing up the boots to get into the ring again. And those names, I think there's 2 that are still in WWE at this moment, and the rest are all in Japan in AEW. So to me, I don't believe for a second that this hacker is going to end up being CM Punk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be really disappointed if that was the case. But good on WWE for trying to draw in some ratings. And like this hacker can basically do and say anything he wants. He's a hacker, right? So
Yeah.
why not try to display himself as CM Punk, get some people talking, get some more eyes on the show, waiting for that comeback. I guarantee you SmackDown's ratings tonight were through the roof, waiting for this maybe comeback.
Or yeah, the reveal, right?
Yeah. Because I think that's where it's leading is like this reveal's gonna happen really soon.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, I hope it's not Mustafa Ali, because if, like I say, like a lot of the hacker, sort of business today is very much terrorism activity. It's not just your mischievous kids or even crime syndicates. A lot of it is terrorism. So that kind of,
paints a bad picture.
yeah, like I don't exactly know what his background is, but yeah, I don't know that that will come off very well to some people.
Right.
And then what's his name?
Shorty G?
Shorty G. I don't know if that makes sense. And I mean, to do another character change so quickly, I think it needs to be more shocking than that.
I don't understand why they don't just make Shorty. They need to turn Chad Gable into Kurt Angle. He needs to be Kurt Angle. He can be Kurt Angle. Just let him be Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
He's funny. He can wrestle. He's
I don't
got
know
a
why they split those guys up at all. They were so hot.
yeah. Well, that was mistake number one, and now Jason Jordan's career's over. So yeah, they really screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah.
But those
Yeah,
guys are
screw the
gold.
pooch on one.
Those guys are gold in NXT.
But
Every
even when they got to WWE, they were still like really over with the crowd. And then they do this Kurt Angle son thing, and it's just like,
yeah,
like they booed that kid. They booed him right out of WWE.
yeah. Boot him right into a neck injury is what they did. All right. So let's get into this week's power rankings for the week of May 6th, 2020. What do we got?
Again, not a lot to really talk about, but the most movement was in the men's division. So we still have John Moxley as our champion, Cody being the number one contender. Lance Archer moves up two positions to number two. Kenny Omega falls one to number three. Brody Lee debuts in the top five of the rankings at number four. Darby Allin at number five, and Jake Hager is out of the top five. What do you think about Brody Lee being in there?
It makes sense. The guy's been walking through people. I mean, they've all been kind of jobbers and stuff, but there's no reason why he shouldn't be. And especially after what we saw this week, we'll come back and talk about this when we get to that point in the show. But I mean, he has to be in the top five, or else what's coming up doesn't make any sense. So,
True. Yeah.
what's going on in the women's?
In the women's, again, no change this week. So Sheeta, Statlander, Zakazaki, Baker, and Riho. Man, I'm getting really good at those names, having to repeat them every week. And in the tag team division, no change. Dark Order number one contenders, Best Friends at number two, Young Bucks at number three, SCU number four, and the Lucha Brothers at number five.
All right. So as we get into AEW Dynamite, finally live once again from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. It's big news. Things starting to lighten up a bit, at least in America. Wrestling. I want to give some of this credit to Vince McMahon. Kind of got pro wrestling deemed an essential business or essential service in the state of Florida, and I guess AEW's capitalizing on that. It makes me wonder if they still had some tape shows to fall back on, but with the opportunity there, why not go live, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was for you, but right when the show started, it felt different. Like it already felt different, even though it's not back to the the regular crowds. There was a different feeling this week than we've had for the past month and a half.
You it's something that I never really noticed until you just said that, really, is you can tell when a show is pre-taped. There's just something about the way it's shot, the way it's edited, sound, quality, if you will. This show felt live. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I kind of just thought this in my head when you watch wrestling shows like ROH that are all pre-taped and stuff, like they still have crowds. I mean, I haven't watched ROH in a while. I'm sure they're not even running shows right now. But when you watch Ring of Honor and they have a live crowd there, it still feels pre-taped and packaged and manufactured and engineered, if you will. But there's something very specific about live TV that comes off as live TV. And this had that live TV feeling, which is what wrestling's all about to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really exciting to see, to have that kind of back to where it needs to be, really. Another big news with everything going back to live, we have our original commentary team back together. We have Excalibur, we have JR, and Tony Schiavone going back to his kind of just being an extra mouthpiece, and whatnot. But it's good to see Excalibur and JR back. It was a good change for the ears. As much as Tony and Jericho were knocking it out of the park, it was good to see these guys back and hear them back.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's get right into the first match of the show. We had the Bad Boy, Joey Janela, versus Cody. One fall, Aubrey Edwards ref. Big thing that I noticed with how the show started is Cody's leading the show off again. Like, this guy's been part of the first segment of pretty much every show during quarantine. What do you think of that? Is that just favorable booking by himself, or?
That's interesting. I actually had this thought last week, and I wonder if it's as simple as in his theme music, it says, "Wait for me to start the show."
Right. Clever.
Um, but I mean, I like it. He has the energy, and I don't know. Every time I see him, I get pumped up. That extra, couple of notches just to watch. So, well, I don't know. What do you think about it?
I mean, I think it's good. I think it's a smart booking that anybody who is following AEW, they're gonna tune in Wednesday night on TSN up here in Canada, on TNT in America. They're gonna tune in right at 8 o'clock, and if you don't have something there to keep people there, if you're starting this match off with a Shug D or Pineapple Pete versus whoever, maybe you're not keeping the casual AEW followers into the
Right.
next segment. So Cody has that name power, that star power, and he's putting on these amazing matches week after week after week. Why not start the show with him?
Yeah. I think too, from sort of a work perspective, if he gets his match out of the way, then he can be, in the back and giving ideas and that kind of thing as well.
I wonder how much Tony was around during the quarantine tape shows, that perhaps Cody was running Gorilla during that time. So yeah, if he had his match first, then he can get to the back and make sure everything's being timed out properly and whatnot. So yeah, it's a good call. I never even
Mhm.
thought of that. I sometimes I forget that Cody is an executive.
Right. That he actually works.
Yeah, he's got work to
Yeah.
do after he's done having his fun in the ring. So yeah, good call. The return of Joey Janela. I mean, I love Joey Janela, but he was not working out during the quarantine. Like he was starting to look pretty good. Like I don't want to sound queer or nothing, but he was starting to
Power
look
through it.
he was starting to look pretty good near Christmas time there, and it's all gone to hell at the quarantine. He looks soft.
He looked rough, man. That hair, he must have been cutting himself. Um, the beard, and then the what I noticed the most is his tights are not tight. Like
Right.
they're hanging like 8 inches below his taint there. It's like,
He's got
bud,
the
pull up your
MG.
pants.
He's got the MC Hammer style
Yeah.
going. Yeah. No.
But I thought he was moving pretty well.
It didn't seem like he
Uh,
had ring rust.
no, they did seem pretty tired towards the end though. But yeah, no, he looked rough.
Yeah. He'll get back into it once he's back doing it week to week basis. But he took a step back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He took a step back.
Smoking hard. Smoking hard.
There was that one. Cody's got him in the corner, and they're setting up for that inverted suplex, and you just see his belly is just all over the place. Like it's just holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Just do some.
We're
sit-ups,
all
everybody.
dealing with it right now.
Yeah, we are. That's true. I can't be too hard on the guy, but I mean, you
Yeah.
are. I mean, you're supposed to have a certain image to uphold. But God, good stuff. This was a good match. I enjoyed it. Like I said, didn't seem like Joey had a lot of ring rust, and Cody's always on top of everything. Let's talk about that inverted suplex. We haven't seen it in a while. Cody bringing it out for live TV. I think that's probably the last time we saw it. Was the last time they went live. Devastating move. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't like the setup because the setup takes so long. Is my only
Yeah.
kind of critique about it. You kind of like, I don't know. If they could do it in a way that was set up quicker and it was more of a, but it's still crazy, man. I cringe every time someone falls on their face like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned Joey's hair, like, is
That's a rat's nest, man.
he's the only wrestler since maybe Jericho circa 95 that just doesn't wet his hair. What's up with that?
Yeah, right. Well, Jericho still doesn't. Matt Hardy doesn't. But yeah, like everybody else does.
But they do a
right?
better job tying it up. Like
Yeah. I
Joey's always
wa-
just got
is-
it in this weird bun, just kind of, and then it falls out like instantly. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how much hair he eats in a match, because like it's got to be constantly in his mouth. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Like I think his gimmick always was, he's the bad boy, he's the smoker, that kind of, not polished guy. He's not like a Kip Sabian, he's not
Right.
super bad. He's just
Right. He's just
the bad boy. But it's like he's taking the character to another level. Like it's like he just got out of a dumpster and it happened to be
His
at
turn to-
Daly's place and hey, do you guys want to book me?
Yeah. He's been waiting for them to come back for a month and a half.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks rough.
But it was a good, solid match. Cody gets counters kind of into a crossroads and gets the 1-2-3. Great way to start the show, and again, it's good to see Joey back as bad as he looked. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we've talked about the last couple of podcasts is we're seeing the same people all the time. So it was just exciting to see someone different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like this match.
next segment on the show was we had a video package produced for Nyla Rose, kind of talking about how dominating of a force she's been in the women's division, and kind of putting the names out there of who's next in line to challenge for her. What did you think of this little video package before the Nyla Rose match came up?
It was a good package, and they seem to be doing more of these things right before the wrestler is gonna have their match. So I was fully expecting that, what we were gonna see next was Nyla Rose. So, I wonder who it will be. You think it'd have to be Sheeta, right? She's
well,
been the number one contender
yeah,
for.
for forever. I hope it's Sheeta. Sheeta had her title shot early on against Riho, and lost that, but she's pretty much been on fire ever since. They did also mention Statlander, Britt Baker, Penelope Ford were some of the other names. They showed images of Shauna and Swole and some of the other Sakazaki and
Babe
whatnot.
Priestley.
Yeah, Babe Priestley was in there. Even Anna Jay was popped up there for a second. So I guess it's really anybody's guess on who is. We only got 3 weeks to get this match set up for Double or Nothing, but to me, it's got to be Sheeta, right?
I think we always say this: if you're gonna make the rankings a thing,
Yeah,
then you got to go by the rankings.
for sure. So hopefully that's what we get to see is Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose at Double or Nothing. But when we know more, we will talk about that more and definitely get into a prediction show just before Double or Nothing. So, but next matchup of the night is Nyla Rose. She comes out and does a quick interview with Tony. Didn't really go Tony's way. She basically tells him to go sit down and go do your job sitting next to JR. Basically what she said. But classic Nyla Rose promo here. I'm gonna decimate all and
She got a little too excited here. I felt like she stumbled at the end, like she didn't know what to say.
right. Yeah, I felt that too.
Yeah.
But we are going to get a women's match coming up. Non-title, I believe. They didn't mention that this was for the title or anything. But Nyla Rose versus a debuting Kenzie Page. And I wrote down in my notes here, out of all the women's wrestlers that have come in to fill spots, and whenever we get a new name and a new face to check out, they all look like they are women's wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like, if you told me that they'd been part of the show for years or whatever, like, I would totally believe you. Everybody was carrying themselves with very much confidence that made them look like they belonged there. No offense to Kenzie Page, but this is the first time I've seen a women's wrestler legitimately look like a jobber. Like, it didn't matter who she was going to be in the ring with. There was no chance this girl was winning this match.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, she looked like a jobber. She looked scared. She didn't know where to, like, stand. You know what I mean? She didn't do anything. When they introduced her, someone will, do something. Like, she just looked like she didn't know what to do when she was there. And I've never seen that before. I've seen tons of women's jobbers before, but this is the first one she looked like a jobber.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I got the same feeling when I saw her.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you're in for a world of hurt, girl.
And she got hurt. I think.
God.
Didn't look good.
Bryce Remsburg making a comeback to refereeing. Least favorite ref of the AEW crew, but I mean, it's good to see him back. At least he's working again.
Oh yeah, you're not a Bryce fan?
I'm not a Bryce fan. No,
He's pretty good on social media.
he's refs aren't supposed to be over, and I've said that
Yeah.
before. He tries to get over.
I
it.
was I was just watching him going, how are you gonna get down on the mat and count the pin? Like your pants are way too tight, bud.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at his pants.
Well, I only noticed because the pockets were coming out. You know, when you're
Oh,
when I wear pants and
yeah.
it's too tight, the pocket comes out. What's going on here?
That's funny.
He's wearing Aubrey's pants.
He's
Jeez.
yeah. He left his back home. He had to borrow from Aubrey.
That's right.
The only other ref that was his size. As we get into this match itself, like Nyla did not take it easy on this girl.
No, not at all. I was afraid for her life.
That first power bomb, she did not land nicely, and then she proceeds to give her two more, along with the beast bomb. Like, oof, I don't know if she'll be agreeing to work with Nyla anytime soon.
Yeah, I wonder, is this girl one of QT's girls?
Maybe.
She must be new, unless she's like the best wrestler ever,
Right?
and she made it appear that she wasn't, because it seemed to me like this was the first time she went in the ring.
Yeah, if that's true, that's scary to put her in with someone as big and powerful as Nyla Rose. You know?
Yeah, because I think Nyla's also like I really like Nyla, but I think we've seen some spots where she could be doing it a little bit safer.
Mhm.
You know, she's trying to be really, really powerful, and then sometimes I think she's not as clean as she could be.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty dangerous
And she
to
doesn't
put something
have
that.
a ton of experience herself. You know, she's only been wrestling for 4 or 5 years herself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It looked stiff. It felt stiff. I hope Kenzie's all right, but holy smokes, stiffsky.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep the show rolling here. We get into a video promo from MJF. Basically calling himself the guy. He's only been on TV for 5 or 6 months. He's I don't know who these people are comparing him to, these legends, but he says he's being compared to Flair and The Rock and Piper and stuff like that. What did you think of the whole MJF promo? I mean, it's classic MJF.
I liked it for his character. Like I think he needed to go there and say some big names, and you know he's that cocky guy, and this was kind of like, you know, the ultimate cockiness, putting yourself in a group with those guys, right? And then ultimately saying, you know, they're not even in my league kind of thing. So yeah, and I thought it was good.
I mean, yeah, like you said, this is him. This is MJF. This is his character in a nutshell. I find it hard that you can. I mean, I guess it's believable coming from him, but how can you put yourself in company with these legends? You've only had 2 matches on AEW. You know what I mean? Like, we know he can wrestle, and we know he's a good talker, and you know that's why I say it's kind of believable. But I mean, Jesus Christ, buddy, you're like he says himself. He's only been in the business for a cup of coffee. Like,
Yeah.
so I can't
Do you
wait.
think it works against him then, this promo?
No, I think it's still building him up, but like it,
Like, I mean, it would be getting a lot of people hating him, which is the whole thing as a heel, right?
right. I what it does for me is I'm getting excited for the day Wardlow turns on him and beats the living piss out of him. That's what I'm excited for.
Oh, I like that.
Because he's going to get a little too comfortable with Wardlow, I think. And, that whole archetype or storyline's gonna brew out sooner or later.
Yeah. That could quite possibly be a double or nothing match. Because he doesn't have anybody right now, right? There's no real feud.
Well,
Warlord's been. No? Am I wrong?
in the next segment, we find out what MJF is doing at Double or Nothing.
Oh, right. Yeah, never mind then. But yeah, that could, I guess, to continue my point, is it could happen, sooner than later since Wardlow's been fighting singles matches
On his
lately.
own, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think that, maybe they're doing a tag team run, against Inner Circle or whoever. Or more than likely some guys in the Elite with the history with Cody and whatnot. And, he's going to start bossing Wardlow around and maybe giving him a smack upside the head. What do you be smarter or be better or something like that. That kind of storyline's going to progress. And, yeah, Wardlow's going to beat the living piss out of him, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
But that's the mark of a great heel. You want to see him get beat up. So, yeah. It's just it's working. It's working. Kind of the tagline, the whole, essentially the essence of this whole promo is that, next week he's coming back to in-ring action and he's going to take back his throne. And they did the whole spot where he stands up and they switch up the chairs. And, this whole thing is just perfect MJF character building. And, it's exciting to see. And then we cut to an interview. Tony is down in the crowd with MJF, sitting with Sean Spears again. They got their stacks of money out, and Wardlow's in the back. And this is where... Oh, we actually had the video promo coming after commercial break I forgot about, that with Sean Spears. And this is something that really confused me. Is why is Sean Spears so concerned with Cody again? This whole thing about how he's blaming Cody for how Dustin, got treated during the match with Lance Archer. He should have threw on the towel. If that was my brother, I would have did anything I could to stop it. Like, Cody seems to have everything else in his world going on, but Sean Spears is just, like, he hasn't let go of this feud yet. Like, what are your thoughts on Sean Spears just constantly throwing himself in Cody's business? Like, I feel like they need to switch directions with Sean, and he needs to start feuding with somebody else.
Yeah, I thought the same thing with that whole little video that he did. I think if they were to do another program together, people would be like, we've seen this before, and there's no kind of rhyme or reason for starting it up again.
Especially when Cody's come out on top twice now.
Right.
So yeah, I don't get it. But
unless this is just a one, they're gonna do a match next week on Dynamite. Yeah, but I think we said it last week that Sean's too good to not be wrestling. They need to find him somebody to feud with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I no one comes to mind right away, but I don't know, maybe like a Darby Allin or something like that.
Yeah, quite possible. But anyways, this is where we get into Tony out in the crowd with MJF and Spears, and MJF has the funny, I like the line where he's sick of watching his peers play wrestle. I thought it was just a classic line. Like, I'm not even sure what that means, but it made me laugh. And then before Sean can kind of finish gassing up MJF, Tony kind of interrupts and announces a match that is officially signed for Double or Nothing, and it's going to be MJF versus Jungle Boy. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I think this will be a good match. The only thing I didn't get with this whole thing is why MGF was so
Yeah.
sort of upset about it.
His reaction made it seem like he was going one on one with the Undertaker, baby. You know what I mean? Like, when the authority figures would punish the heels by putting them up against the big monsters of whoever was available, Kane or the Undertaker or Big Show. That was his reaction. He was like, "What? That's
Yeah,
horseshit." Like,
yeah,
it didn't make really any sense, but. I mean, this was a feud that we were building to before the live shows stopped. It was kind of Jurassic Express versus MJF and Wardlow. We had seen MJF with Bunny, the Blade and the Butcher tag teaming against Jurassic Express. So it makes sense that we're going to get somewhat of a payoff there. But yeah, MJF's reaction, I think it would have suited him better if he just went, really? Like, like if he
yeah,
just laughed it off, I think would
yeah,
have suited his character better. But that's just me.
yeah. No, I agree.
Um, next segment of the show, we get again a non-title match, but champion John Moxley, AEW World Champion, going up against Frankie Kazarian. We saw the promo package the week before. Moxley's packing up and packing the dogs up and putting some Metallica in the car and heading out east to come back live, which is all really good. This was kind of the match of the night for me. What did you think? This was a wrestling match, and it really came off that way.
Yeah. I thought at first that this is kind of an odd match. Frankie being mostly tag team that I've seen him in. So it just seemed kind of out of the blue and a bit off. But I mean, what did they say? He's how many years in the business? Absolute pro. Always goes out and does a job. So I was expecting a really good match here, and I think that we got that. And like you said, we saw some real wrestling, a lot of groundwork, which I thought was really good.
There's a lot of like holds and like mat wrestling, as I think Tony comments on how he likes to watch a good mat wrestling match. As you talked about the matchup being Frankie, kind of odd in a way. This kind of is perpetuating our inklings that Frankie or Scorpio Sky might be going out on his own, kind of thing. Like, I think this just helps that theory gain some traction. That maybe it's not Scorpio who leaves, it's Frankie. And out
Okay.
of that, Scorpio rises and overtakes Frankie as the solo star, which could very well happen. But
hmm
yeah, like you talked about, the commentary talked about how maybe Frankie wants a solos run, and this is his chance to make his case. And then someone brings up Scorpio Sky. It's like, well, yeah, Scorpio Sky has been talking about starting a solos career. So yeah, it just kind of, maybe that's what they're setting up to, like a real subtle lead into that storyline that possibly could be coming.
Yeah.
Um, right at the start of the match, this made me giggle. Is they get up into the corner and he starts. Paul Turner is the ref, or sorry, Rick Knox is the ref, and he starts counting the 5 count like right away. And John says something about Frankie having a better tan. He's like, I didn't quite catch what he heard, but he's like, oh, you're just doing that because his tan's better than mine. Oh, it made me laugh.
That's been one of the great things about the no fans is you hear more of what goes on in the ring.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Another note is that SCU didn't stick around. Commentary made a really, you know, they really put it out there that Frankie was doing this on his own. Again, just kind of adding to that theory that maybe SCU might be done. But early on, Frankie takes a bump off the ramp and starts selling a knee. That looked really. It looked like he legitimately twisted it, but as the match went on, he kind of forgot to keep selling it. I felt, but this was. I mean, like I said, this was match of the night for me. It was classic wrestling, if you will. Really solid match, and you know, everybody got their stuff in. It looked as though maybe Frankie was getting the upper hand, and Moxley just pulls this paradigm shift out of nowhere and gets the 1, 2, 3. But kind of the main part of this whole segment is that during the celebration, the win celebration, out comes Dark Order and attacks Moxley. This was kind of a big deal. What'd you think?
Yeah. I mean, I never saw it coming. I don't know about you, but I didn't see it
Yeah.
coming.
I was
And
halfway up the stairs. I had to run back to
oh
to
yeah,
the TV because I heard something was going on. I was totally expecting it to fade out into commercial break.
right, right. I think I didn't leave the room, but I think I was the same thing. You know, I got on the phone or something, and then I'm just like, this is odd. Well, what's this about? Um, yeah, it was a good segment. It probably went longer than I would have liked it to have gone, like the whole sort of thing. But I don't know. What do you think this is gonna mean?
Well, we already know that Cody is taking on Lance Archer at Double or Nothing. That's the TNT Championship match. Those guys are part of the top three right now. So they're out. Who else is in the top three? Forget.
Kenny's.
Kenny's gonna have a tag team title match. We know that. Well, I mean, we don't know that, but I mean, we can assume that Kenny is gonna have a tag team title match. So he's kind of tied up for Double or Nothing. So who's next in line? Brody Lee, and I think that's why he's up into that fourth spot at the moment, even though he's only been kind of wrestling, Marco Stunt and the jobbers that we've seen him wrestling. So, it makes sense that, yeah, Dark Order, they're the kind of faction that's going to jump you, tag team you. They have all this help being the creepers and the minions and stuff like that. I agree with you that, like, the beatdown took way too long. Like, they beat him up, and they beat him up, and they beat him up, and then Brody gets on the mic and, challenges him.
And that took a long
And
time.
that took a long time. Like, get your freaking words out, bud. And then Moxley laughs it off and like, dude, all you had to do is ask. And then they beat him up again for another, couple minutes. And then Brody goes up to the ramp and kind of looks upon what his creepers have done for him. And then you get this, 10 grabs the belt and brings it up to him and they walk off with it. Like the whole beatdown could have been a whole nother match itself. You know what I mean? Like I totally agree. It was way too long. Could have been done way better. But I mean, I'm excited for this match. Brody Lee versus Moxley. It's gonna be a barn burner.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would have been better if we saw a bit of the beatdown. It went to commercial, and then it came back with like Brody Lee with the belt, and then he does the challenge or something like that. But yeah, so we're thinking this is going to be a Double or Nothing match, eh?
Yeah, probably. I think they even talk about it later in the show that it's officially going to happen at Double or Nothing. So we'll get a couple weeks build towards that. And exciting to see how. We've never really seen this done before with the belt itself. We've seen it with Money in the Banks and stuff in the past where a challenger actually steals the coveted item. Like, I don't think I've ever seen the World Championship stolen like this before. Not that I can remember. What do you think of this whole thing? Of them just kind of taking the belt hostage almost?
I feel like we have seen it before, but they walk off with it and then there's usually nothing that comes out of it.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see, like, are Dark Order going to have the belt next week?
Well,
But it's interesting.
yeah, it gives the story options, So now Moxley's on this vendetta to get his belt back, like, because that belt doesn't belong to him. It doesn't belong to Brody Lee. It belongs to the fans, right? Like,
Right.
That was Moxley's kind of his words at the end of Revolution there. So yeah, I'm sure he's gonna be heated and have purpose in trying to get this belt back. So it gives it options.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. As we get into the next part of the show here, we have another taped promo, this time involving Brandy Rhodes. And Brandy kind of channeling her inner Cody here. This was a very Cody-esque promo that she pulled off, and she did a really good job at it. Calling out Jake and your message has been received, but let me tell you what happens next. Or and she kind of predicts what they're going to try to do to her, and she kind of calls it out, and she gets like
Almost all of it, right?
yeah, almost. But like the whole, like, my mama once told me, don't fuck with people you don't know and you don't know me. I thought was just like a new dimension to her character. Like, you've never seen her portray that much badassery, if you will. So
Yeah.
pretty exciting. What did you think of the promo?
I hadn't made the connection between, doing it the Cody way until you just said it, but you're right. Like, she, was sitting on the chair, the dark room, talking very calmly. Yeah, I know it's probably one of my most favorite Brandy things she's done on the show so far.
I don't know if you caught it, but she, as she's talking about what's going to happen, and they're going to back her up into a corner, and she says the line, this isn't 1991 again, and you're not going to slap me, or something like that. That references a time in WWF when Jake slaps Miss Elizabeth. And I didn't even remember that ever happened. I know Jake and Macho Man had, like, rivalry of the decade, but I never realized that he actually. So I had to look it up. I looked it up on YouTube, and it doesn't happen exactly how Brandy kind of makes it out to happen, but yeah, he grabs her by the hair and she's screaming and gives her a smack, and like, you could never get away with that shit nowadays.
Oh,
it's crazy.
wow.
It was a worked punch, but I mean,
right.
He smacks
her. I don't remember that incident, so I never thought that when she said that part. I thought it was more in reference to, wrestling's changed since that time.
Right.
And I guess that kind of still applies here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because you can't do that in this day and age. But, wow, that's interesting.
So, yeah. But that leads into the next matchup of the night, which is going to be QT Marshall with Brandy Rhodes trying to get some revenge on Lance Archer for the way he completely destroys Dustin in the semifinals of the TNT Championship tournament there. notably, Jake is here. He's live. He's on the show. He came out with Lance and kind of took a seat and watched the show. Wasn't really part of the match in any way, but commentary did a good job to make sure that we knew he was there and stuff like that. What are your overall thoughts of how this match went? I personally, I really compared the QT match to the Dustin match. You know, for whatever reason, I kind of just was like, oh, well, they kind of did this spot with Dustin, but, you know, I was kind of comparing the two. What did you think of the match?
Yeah, I guess they had their similarities. QT's such a different wrestler though. Uh, he has a little bit. My first thought was to say a little bit more in his arsenal. I don't think it's that. It's just different. He has different moves,
Yeah.
whereas Dustin's more of a kind of a power guy. QT does the springboards off the ropes and stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty predictable what the match was going to turn out as, and I thought it turned out. It turned out
So
pretty good.
the reason I bring up the kind of the comparison to the Dustin match is I feel like QT did better against Lance Archer than Dustin did, which I don't exactly agree with. You know, like Dustin really got the ass kicked out of him, where QT was, you know, getting some offense in. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of nitpicking on my part, but that's why I bring up the comparison. But I mean, this was a really good match. It did its job to continue the story of Lance Archer and Jake Roberts versus the Rhodes, the Nightmare Family kind of thing. Kind of the interesting takeaway from this match and this segment is Britt Baker being on the outside. She kind of gets involved. She does the shoe spot again that we've seen before. Brandy takes the shoe out of her hand, chucks it, you know, tells her to stay out of the business and whatnot. But after the match is done, she jumps the rail and attacks Britt. Interestingly enough, or attacks Brandy, sorry. Interestingly enough, she does the DDT, which we all know is Jake Roberts' finishing move. He invented that move. Do you think this is some kind of homage? Some kind of, hey, look at me, I want to be a part of this group. Like, what's Britt thinking when she pulls off the DDT? This isn't a move we really see her do per se, but because Jake's out there, she drops the DDT and did it very Jake-like. So, you know, what did you think of that spot?
Well, I didn't think too much into it, other than they needed a way to get to that finish, which we're going to probably talk about in a second, right?
Right.
So like 1991, they couldn't have Jake do it.
Right.
So they needed someone to do it. So that's about as far as I got with it. Yeah, they needed a way for her to get into the ring, and yeah, the DDT just because Jake's there. I don't know. She might be interesting in that group, though.
Yeah, I don't know. It could totally transform her character, because she's already working heel, and I mean, it is working. Everybody hates her. But this Dr. Britt Baker role model thing isn't working so much. So this could be a way. Maybe I'm just wanting things to happen, and I'm kind of seeing what I want to see.
Yeah.
Thinking about it a little too much, but I totally agree that, yeah, they needed some way to have Brandy knocked out so that they could do the spot. But I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Like, Britt could have easily done that and just, you know, hit her against the ring post and put her in the lockjaw or something. Like, it didn't need to be a DDT. It's just interesting that they chose the DDT. She could have went out there and just super kicked her. It still would have made sense.
Yeah.
I do think that this is leading into, this could be a double or nothing match, Brandy versus Britt. It gives Britt something to do on the big show. You know, Britt's still very much a big part of the show. You can't give someone that much camera time and then not get a payoff at a pay-per-view, right? So this gives Britt something to do. But yeah, I just, the way she chooses the DDT, the way she executes the DDT, I just think like it's like a give me a shot. And
Yeah.
it would be interesting to see added aspects to this Jake Roberts kind of led cult, if you will. But like we said, as we go into the spot, Brandy's knocked out. Britt throws her in the middle of the ring. Lance drags her to the middle of the ring. And the commentators do a really good job to kind of divert your attention that, you know, hey, Lance, hey, whoa, you can't be putting your hands on her. And out comes Jake, and he's got the snake. The snake gimmick's making a comeback. Quite smaller snake, but, I mean, still snake. What did you think of the snake spot coming back?
I just had flashbacks of my youth. I always thought that Jake was like the coolest wrestler.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, having a stake with the same name as me was always kind of cool when I was a kid. But I don't remember it quite going the way it did, though.
How so?
I don't know. It looked really odd. You know, where he puts the snake on her, and then he's like over top of her. Now, you know, I'm trying to think, hey, did he do that in the day? He probably did, but he was a smaller guy.
Yeah. A little bit more
he probably
nimble.
Yeah, and probably wasn't doing it with young ladies like that.
Yeah.
I
mean, it was obviously planned to do it that way. I don't feel Jake would be disrespectful in the way to just mount up on essentially his boss's wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had to have been talked over to be done that way. But yeah, it comes off really awkward. You know, Jake's not the most, like I say, nimble guy anymore. It kind of took him a second to get set into position, and then he's trying to waggle or do something on top of her. Like, it looked really bad. Like, it could have been.
Were you expecting Cody to come out?
I was, yeah. I thought Cody was going to be, you know, let's start getting that heat going into this feud, but he was nowhere to be found. And
yeah,
but
and the commentary again, we keep giving props to those guys. You know, they're like, well, the locker room's, you know, far away from, you know, where we are, and
you got to take a golf cart to get there, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, the snake spot, it could have been done better, but I mean, I was a Jake fan too, man. You loved when the snake came out and used to slither all over the guys, and I think I've talked about it before. Like, one of my favorite defining moments that made me a wrestling fan is the Cobra biting Macho Man as Macho Man's tied up in the ropes. Like, that's iconic. That's played in all the montages, right? So it's cool to see it back. It could have been done better. Like, he could have just laid it on top of her and let it slither around, and as it started kind of getting away, drag it back and put it on. And they could have just stood over her looking badass. It would have made so much more sense than him trying to get creepy on her, but whatever, it is what it is. If we can give props to Brandy, she did not flinch a muscle, and that snake was like licking her arm. It was sliding down all in between her legs and shit. She did not flinch.
Yeah.
Props.
No, I noticed that too. I was like, yeah, she did really well there.
This is amazing. Good on Brandy.
But probably the best thing that came out of this, or even the most shocking that came out of this, was Kip Sabian's tweet after all of this went down.
Okay, what does it
Do,
say?
do you do you know what I'm talking about here?
No.
I'm just trying to find it so I can like quote it exactly.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm gonna find it here, but basically he says something about watching Jake rub his snake all over Brandy's body, and you know, I am definitely not the type of person that is sort of today's mentality where everything has to offend me.
Right.
But this one I kind of had, it kind of made my mouth just kind of drop and go, ah, Kip, I feel like you're gonna get in trouble for this one. It just did not seem like an appropriate tweet to
Right.
throw out there. I feel like there was a little bit more to the tweet than just that, but the main part of it was, yeah, I'm, sitting here watching Jake rub his snake all over Brandy's body.
Yeah, that's
What a guy.
and obviously AEW's talent doesn't have the restrictions that WWE's talent has. Like I believe WWE's has to get approval for all their tweets and Instagram messages. Like they can't put anything out there. Like they would never get away with that. I feel
Right.
so.
Well, they might have that restriction now.
Well,
after
yeah.
Kip's.
Yeah. Way to go, Kip.
Yeah, you ruined it for everybody.
Yeah. Stick to sitting in a corner and Call of Duty, bud.
On top of the water tower. Yeah.
All right. Next segment, we get back into another interview. This time, Taz backstage interviewing Darby Allin. He was trying to, get some comments on the match against Cody. What went wrong, kind of thing. And Allen's just not biting on the questions he's not answering. And Taz kind of takes this opportunity to try to, hey, I'll take you under my wing. I could coach you. I could be that guy for you. And Darby kind of just looks at him, pushes the mic away, and walks off camera. What did you think of this? Like, could you see Taz in a managerial role for somebody like Darby Allin? Or do you think Taz should stick to commentating and
I don't feel like him and Darby seem like a thing. But I think I do see Taz as being a manager, valet, or whatever. I think that could be a pretty good role for him because he's also really good on the mic.
Yeah, he could pull off that Paul Heyman style advocate, if you will. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, does it work with Darby? I mean, I'd have to see it. Darby's not a mic guy. He likes to do his video packages and kind of gets his message out that way. We've never really seen him grab a mic, besides like an accepting a challenge. I think we saw in the earlier days of Dynamite and whatnot. But to actually like be out there with a microphone and cut a promo, we haven't seen that from him yet. And to me, I don't want to see that. That doesn't fit his character.
Mm-hmm.
So to have somebody like Taz to maybe be that for him makes sense, but I don't know if the chemistry will be there. I think it's something that we'll have to see.
Yeah, like I mean, I really see Darby as like Sting.
Right.
The Sting where he was like in the rafters. He's he's the Phantom. We shouldn't hear from him or hear from him very little. So yeah, I don't know that would work, but I like your idea of Taz being a mentor or like a Paul Heyman type figure. I think that would work. I think that would be really good. Just don't know who that would be.
Yeah, interesting subject to talk about. But as after that segment, we get to move into the main event of the night, which is going to be this Dynamite street fight. the sorry, the Sex Gods, not the Sex Gods. Jericho and Sammy versus Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy making his AEW in ring debut. This is a Falls Count Anywhere street fight match. This was wild. This was a wild ride of a match. Right off the start, during Judas and the entrance, Jericho makes his way out of the ring, and he's finally going to come face to face with Pineapple Pete, Shug D, and the camera kind of cuts away too soon because I think Jericho is in his face. But then it cuts back again a little too late, and apparently Pineapple Pete took a swing at Jericho, and Jericho had to dodge out of the way. What do you think of this altercation before the match even started?
Well, I'm glad you're saying that because I wasn't totally paying attention to the match yet, just because, they were just coming to the ring. So I missed that whole thing.
And it wasn't even a focal point on the camera either. It was like Sammy was in the ring doing his Spanish God stuff, and you kind of see it in the corner to the right. And Jericho's down where Pineapple Pete is, and then it cuts away, and then it cuts back, and then Jericho's like, falling backwards into the apron trying to dodge this punch by Pineapple Pete.
Do you think that this was planned? Because I feel like once Jericho got into the ring, he had like a red mark on him. Like maybe he actually got hit. Maybe he wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, it definitely could have been. I mean, I'd have to say it was planned just because of how much heat Jericho was giving Pineapple Pete. In the last 3 or 4 weeks that Jericho's been doing commentary, like Pineapple Pete's been on the tip of his tongue. So to see him out there, of course Jericho's going to go there, but I didn't see an actual strike happen. They talk about it, but to me it missed. But if you said that there's a red mark there, then yeah, maybe he connects. Maybe we'll see a different camera angle next week when they replay it back, because two minutes into the match, we get the announcement that next week on AEW Dynamite, it's gonna be Le Champion Chris Jericho versus Pineapple Pete Shug D, and JR is not happy about this matchup. Are you serious? He goes.
I was thinking that you would not be happy about this matchup because now we have to talk about Pineapple Pete.
Well, I mean,
another segment.
He's not good, but he's going in with the GOAT, and if Chris Jericho can't get his wrestling over, like Pineapple Pete's wrestling over, then there's no chance for this guy. There's absolutely no chance. This is his last chance.
This is going to either make him or break him, right?
Yeah. If he has a good match with Jericho, this guy's going to be the hottest thing in AEW. He's already selling out T-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. It's freaking crazy. But the guy can't wrestle. So if he can manage to pull off a good match against Jericho, I mean, we'll see.
It might happen.
Jericho. Tony makes a comment. Jericho's a star maker. Jericho's kind of like the Undertaker for AEW. You have a match with the Undertaker, he'll make you famous, either good or bad. So, I mean, I'm gonna give him a shot. I'll keep an open mind next week for this matchup.
Yeah, let's hope it's the first match of the night.
Yeah, for sure. There was a lot to talk about this match. This match was kind of all over the place. As I mentioned, Matt Hardy making his in-ring debut. Matt Hardy's kind of... I'm excited to see where this gimmick is going to go, because he's not just Matt Hardy. He's not just Damascus. It seems like he's, in and out. We've seen it in interviews and promos that he's been pulling off the last few weeks, and we saw it during this match. There's a spot in the match where Jericho takes him up to the ramp and kind of throws him through the stage, if you will. All those light segments and stuff go flying, and we don't see him for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then he comes back out and he's version 1 Matt Hardy. He's got the Team Extreme, the tight kind of flashy silk shirt or whatever it is, the black jeans on, and can't bend his knees anymore, and
No, all versions have that.
oh, Oliver, yeah, that's right. It's true. It's true. But what do you think of this kind of like this twist on the broken Matt Hardy character, that he's kind of going in and out of these different characters? We saw it in the Free the Delete series. To me, that was one of the best episodes, where he kept going into the pool of rejuvenation, and he kept coming out as a different vessel. You know, I like this.
Yeah, I like it too. I just wonder, is it leading to something? And I guess I just don't know what that something is. Because I feel like what could it lead to? Another version?
What? Just think about this for a second. We know Matt Hardy kind of invented, well, maybe not invented, but he's kind of the prototype for these cinematic pre-taped type matches. Saw the Ultimate Deletion against Jeff Hardy. We saw the Bray Wyatt match. Everything he did with Free the Delete. We suspected something was going to happen with Jericho out at the compound. Now he's challenging Sammy Guevara. What if this alter ego type character leads into him wrestling himself at the Hardy compound to see who will be the master of the vessel? I'm sure is something he would say.
Right.
You know, like, could
right.
Matt Hardy wrestle Damascus? With
I think
the
if
money,
anybody's going to be able to pull it off, it would be him.
If with the money that TNT has and production that he would have access to, CGI, whatever they need to do, he could definitely wrestle himself. It could be done. It would take a lot of work, but I would be pumped to see that match.
Yeah, that would be insane. I mean, can we even say that's ever been done?
I mean, I've seen Kenny Omega wrestle a blow-up doll. I've seen Kota Ibushi wrestle a broom, but I've never seen somebody wrestle themselves. I mean, there was Undertaker versus fake Undertaker and Sting versus fake Sting, but those were portrayed as imposters, and the match was to see who the real one was, right? No one's ever wrestled themselves, essentially. So, I don't know. I think that's where this could lead at some point. But I like how he kind of just disappears and his character changes. There's a wardrobe change real quick, and and then he has a completely different. It's a completely different moveset whenever his character changes. Like the character changes. It's not just a change of a shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's really cool. But anyways, so we see that JR messing up on commentary again, calling us Winnipegians. I don't know. That just touches me the wrong way.
This is twice he's done this now.
It's twice, yeah. Like, is Jericho and Kenny not in his... I mean, I guess they got to show respect to their elders, I guess, but it's Winnipeggers. Like, figure it out. So Matt Hardy comes out. There's the character change, and we get this really cool ladder spot. Matt Hardy brings in the ladder. Kenny brings in the table. We get this big frog splash onto the table on Sammy Guevara. It was really cool. At this point, Hager starts to get involved in the match. He's attacking Kenny and whatnot. Eventually, the fight starts broadening out, and we're starting to see a true street fight, which is something we missed with the Hager-Moxley match. They tried to kind of go in and out through the crowd or through the stands or whatever, but it didn't really come off right. This comes off way better. You know, they're up through the stairs, they get down into the concourse, they're hitting each other with garbage cans and recycling bins, and like what were some of your favorite spots going into the backstage segment of this match?
Uh, just all of it. Like you said, it felt more like the type of match that that other one should have been. It's just too bad. It's just really too bad because I'm a Moxley fan. That they couldn't have done that better. So yeah, just all of it. Like I was just loving this match.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I have written down here. Well, we get into the freezer spot. There's a nice freezer. They open it up. That shot with the ice bag on Matt Hardy that looks stiff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Did they? Hopefully, somebody went and loosened up the ice first. Because if there was one, when ice freezes together and becomes one big solid chunk, like that could have friggin' killed the guy.
I was totally expecting him to show some color after that.
Yeah, for sure. It was just it worked out so good because the bag kind of ripped open and ice kind of exploded on the hit. Like it was really well done. But oh man, like if Jericho like picked up the wrong bag or something, I don't know. Like just some things that you hope are gimmicked. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, they open up the freezer and they dump him in there, and we don't see Matt Hardy for another 2 or 3 minutes. This is when Kenny kind of starts making a comeback. We kind of saw the 2-on-1 earlier in the match when Matt Hardy kind of disappeared. Kenny had no offense during that. It was all Jericho and Sammy. This time, the 2v1 is starting to... You're kind of expecting it to happen, but Kenny kind of gets the upper hand on this and kind of takes over. He's throwing trash cans over people's backs. Really stiff trash can hits. Sammy comes in with his own trash can, and I don't even think he dented that trash can on Kenny's head. Kenny still sold it like a pro, but what are you doing, Sammy? Come on, this is wrestling. Hit the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of disappointed that Sammy hit him with this soft trash can shot. But the next big spot is Kenny doesn't show him any love back. There was no thanks for taking it easy on me with the trash can. Power bombs him through that garage door. That was really well done. There was some power behind that.
Sammy got absolutely destroyed in this match.
Oh man, he kind of reminds me of like Sasha Banks in a way. Like Sasha Banks always takes moves like the most dangerous way you can, to where her body just folds up and contorts like it shouldn't. And that was Sammy in this match. Like he, as we get into, as we'll get into it, Jericho does the suplex on the guardrails, kind of gets himself. I don't know if you noticed those things jutting out on the guardrails. I think he got in his back. Like he didn't look like he was selling that. That looked like that hurt.
Oh.
Did you see the slippery when wet sign just explode on Jericho's? Like Kenny's not holding back on anything, which makes me look back at that trash can shot by Sammy. Like, why are you tapping him with this trash can? And he's
like you can feel the energy.
Yeah,
everybody's going full tilt here. Yeah.
So at this point, this is when Damascus emerges from the freezer. Matt Hardy's got the robe on, and Excalibur seems to be the only one who gets what's going on, and that these are character changes. The vessel is still there, but the one behind the steering wheel is changing or whatever. So good on Excalibur for getting this.
He was the only one at the production meeting.
Yeah, I guess so. But so Damascus, there's a little bit of fumbling trying to get the golf cart going, but he gets back into the action. Totally runs over Jericho. Jericho takes it like a true pro, like he wants to work next week. So he's been run over by a vehicle before. He knows how to take it. Damascus picks up Kenny Omega. They do a loop around and they chase down Sammy, and oh my god. Sammy absolutely destroys himself on the front of this golf cart.
How did he not have a concussion? Like
he might. I don't know. Like he jumped into it, which is fine. You see actors in the movies, when they get hit by a car, they kind of jump at the last minute. They do the roll off the hood and kind of ramp up the thing, and then they land. He dove at it like he's tackling somebody in football. Leads with his head, takes it off the corner, like the strut, the roll bar, does like the John Elway spin, and lands right on his head on the concrete. And I mean, that golf cart was booking it. Like, that thing goes fast.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that he took that bump. What do you think? And then he got back up. Like, he was back in the match, and like 2 minutes later, like, Sammy, like, you got to give the guy credit, man. He'll take a bump, but he won't give a bump for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's all about the content, I think, for Sammy.
Yeah.
I don't think that you follow him on like YouTube and whatnot, but pretty much a staple in his videos lately have been the times he gets destroyed on Dynamite. And
did that all start
whatnot.
with the super kick?
Yeah. So now it's like every time he almost dies, it's a feature on his vlog. So I'm sure this next week that'll be on there
for sure.
Brutal.
Yeah, one of the best spots of the night, though. Like, it was crazy that he took it that way. One spot that could argue to overtake the golf cart killing Sammy is this moonsault off the scissor lift by Kenny. And he just perfectly lands it. Takes out everybody. Just lands on his feet. Like, amazing.
Did you expect him to jump on the top? Because I just thought he was going to, like, fall off of it.
Yeah. Well, I was expecting this to go through the tables because the tables were there. So I was like, oh, yeah, it's there for the cushion and whatnot. And then all of a sudden he, like, jumps up to the railing and then jumps back in one fluid motion. Like, he had to have been probably 10, 15 feet in the air, you'd think.
Easy.
Because that was taller than a ladder, you would think.
For sure.
It wasn't quite Cody in the cage, but I mean it was a high jump.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, metal, slippery, you know, you're wearing wrestling boots, probably don't have traction on them per se. But yeah, like all it took was one slip and man, you're having a horrible fall.
Yeah.
Especially with the
and you know, sometimes like the guys don't quite get in position or don't quite catch you perfectly, but yeah, the whole thing went well. The guys did well to brace him when he came down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a crazy spot. I couldn't believe that. From there, with Cody or Kenny kind of getting the upper hand on Inner Circle, essentially, out come Proud and Powerful for their triumphant return, and they get involved in the match, and it's kind of all Inner Circle from here on out. We get to see the big triple power bomb that we saw on Moxley a bunch of weeks ago. They put Kenny through the table, or they put Matt Hardy through the table. Sorry, they get Kenny. They lift up him. Chris Jericho power bombs him on top of the cart, and this is where kind of the interesting the veil of live TV kind of gets lifted. Is after the power bomb on top of the cart, you can hear Bryce like yelling at Jericho, like, you only have 15 seconds left. And Jericho looks back like, are we off the air? Like, are we off? You hear him say that, and somebody answers him. It's like, no, you got 15 seconds. So Jericho goes into ring general mode. He's like, let's go. And you know, they get into the Judas effect, and it's the 1, 2, 3. It seemed like a rush ending. I wonder if they had more planned, but yeah, they really had to rush that ending. What did you think of the ending?
Yeah, it did seem to, just happen abruptly and out of nowhere. And I guess they really had to push that to get the whole, with the screen and stuff at the end that they had, or else I think that was an important part to have for them. So yeah, it seemed it was obvious it was rushed.
Yeah, I just I wonder if someone was missing out on time cues earlier, that they thought they had more time than they did, because like it was all of a sudden, you guys have 15 seconds, we're going off the air, and they're like,
Mm.
oh crap, and and then they just go in Judas effect 1 2 3, and then they do the hands up and inner circles on the big screen in the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium, which is a really cool ending. I was expecting fireworks to start going off and stuff like that, but we
Yeah.
didn't get that. Maybe next week. But yeah, this was a really good match. This is how street fights are supposed to be. This was just brutal. Um, you know, Moxley, maybe Hager wasn't ready for that pace of a street fight to start introducing hardcore weapons. He's kind of been out of wrestling for a while, so but he took some decent shots. He was taking the trash can, and I think Matt gets him a pull in the gut and whatnot, so it's coming along. I
Yeah.
would yeah, I'm sure he'll get another shot at Moxley at some point for sure, but this was a good match. Can't wait for this blood and guts if we ever get it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be pretty disappointed if we don't get that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's another week in the books for AEW. It was a good week. Probably the best Dynamite we've seen in a while. Maybe not the best BTE or Dark, but best Dynamite we've seen in a few weeks. It was a really good show. Like I mentioned, the Frankie Kazarian Moxley match was kind of the highlight of the night for me. True wrestling match. That street fight was epic. Got to see the Snake make a comeback, which is really cool. So, yeah, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, I think we should get our viewers to comment in the comment section. What do you think Jake should call this snake? Probably
Right.
can't use Damien again.
Yeah, that might be trademarked by WWE.
Yeah. What should Jake call the snake?
What should Jay call the Snake? Maybe Diego?
Oh,
Only we get that. Okay, but yeah, that's a good question. What Jake always kind of named his snakes. So what's this snake's name gonna be? Good question. Leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps the channel out. Really helps the YouTube algorithm to help promote us when we get those views, when we get those likes. So don't forget to share with your wrestling fans, and let's get the word out there. So yeah, that's about it from us, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.